This episode is sponsored by KiwiCo. KiwiCo delivers monthly hands-on projects that are a great resource for learning at home. There are different subscription lines for every age group, all designed to teach kids about STEAM. They provide hours of entertainment and sneak-in learning along the way. Head to the link in the description to get 50% off your first month of any KiwiCo subscription. Welcome back to Funda Kendalls. Today we're making no machine pasta. And I get it. You've made pasta. You've made pasta. I've made pasta. But have we really made pasta? Made it? Well, I have, because I've done this before, but you're gonna learn how. I should note that I learned how to make pasta, A, in school, but B, from a man named Evan Funky. And no, he did not teach me personally. I watched videos that he was in, and he's like a pasta guru, and he's incredible. I'm not gonna be doing what he does, because that's a lot, but I'm going to be doing my version. That's it, that's all I have.
All right, well, how do we start?
Flour, eggs, the ingredients to make pasta. You really only need these two things. So this is double O flour, and this is all-purpose flour. The protein content between these two are going to be roughly the same. Protein is important because that's where you're going to be making your gluten. For example, bread flour has around 13% protein. That's gonna be a much harder dough. It's gonna make a lot more gluten. That's why you use it for bread when you want those stretchy networks. Whereas cake flour or pastry flour, where you want like a shorter texture, you're gonna have a lower protein content there, around 9%. So for pasta, staying in and around that 10 to 12% is what you want. Bread flour at 13 is probably gonna be too much. Let's get started. We're gonna measure out about 350 grams of flour. Why? Because I'm gonna use 4 eggs, which should be roughly 200 grams if each large egg, which most large eggs are in and around 50 grams. And there's really no need to be as precious about it as I am, because I'm just gonna crack the 4 eggs into the mound, and it may need a little bit more flour, it may need a little bit more water. We'll work with it. All right, so now we're just making a loose mound. I wanna make kind of like a volcano hole. Now to add my eggs. Pop these yolks. And just a little pinch of salt. That's all you need. As I'm mixing it together, it's slowly incorporating a little bit of the flour. Once I feel like these are kind of homogeneous, I'll start adding more flour. And you continue mixing it with a fork like this until it becomes like a thick, almost like a paste consistency. I'm just taking like the tines of the fork and like grabbing a little bit of flour. I'm doing it all the way around the circle, just so one area doesn't break the dam and outspilleth the egg. All right, we're just about at that point, so I'm not gonna go any further with this. All right, now you could do this by hand. I like to use a bench scraper to keep my hands clean, but just flip in. All right, at this point, I will enter my hands. Okay, yeah. Definitely could have done the bench scraper for longer. The finished dough, you want to be slightly tacky before you let it rest. So the trick here is to not panic. I'm panicking. All right, this is actually gonna be just fine. I'm really glad we didn't panic. We're gonna continue kneading this until it becomes a bit smoother than this. Plus when you poke it, see how it's popping back? I'm gonna wait until it pops back all the way. So just a little bit longer, actually. This is going pretty well. So you're gonna make kind of like a floral pattern at the bottom of your dough as you're kneading it, and you do that by pressing down, then this piece lifts up, press down, quarter turn, do the same with the next piece. Yeah, I think we're just about there. You see the texture, it's still ripply. The dough itself is a little bit sticky. I mean, it's not sticking to my fingers, but just touching it, it's a little tacky. That's what you want. All right, we're gonna wrap it up in plastic wrap pretty tightly, seam side down, and let it rest here for about 30 minutes. We're gonna then knead it again for about 10 minutes and let it rest for an hour. If you were to do this with a machine, when you're mixing it, it's gonna develop a lot of gluten there, especially if you're using a food processor, not nearly as much as when you're mixing it by hand. So I think it really benefits from having a second opportunity to develop gluten. You know, not to brag, but I feel like I have the same fingers as Jennifer Lawrence. Really, I'm not trying to like give myself a big head, but I just feel like.
Oh, is this Jennifer Lawrence? Oh, it's...
rested. I'm actually gonna cut the dough in half. You don't have to do that at this point because this amount is perfectly fine for one serving to feed about 4 people. But I'm cutting it in half for 2 reasons. One, I'm making 2 different kinds of pasta, but more importantly, I want you to see the difference between the 2 doughs when one is kneaded and one is not. Oh, it's so soft now. Oh yeah, that's good. That's good. That's good. Same motion as before. I'm not adding any flour. It's perfectly fine the way it is. It's also going to significantly lighten in color. Why? I don't really know. Truth be told.
Have you named your dough yet?
That's such a great question. I'm kind of feeling like JoJo for this one. I had a dream about JoJo Siwa the other day. So that's strong. She was there. It wasn't like the focus. We're almost there, I think, but look at the color difference. Wild. So that's gonna rest for like minimum 1 hour. You can go up to 2. I've actually been known to put it in the refrigerator overnight and then let it come to room temperature for like 45 minutes to an hour before working with it. That's really good too. Our pastas are sleeping. Shh. So we're gonna make pesto. Kale pesto? Yeah, it's gonna be kale. I have water boiling. I'm gonna blanch it. Gonna add some parsley, but I'm not gonna blanch it. Almonds, what? Not pine nuts? I know. Shh. I'm gonna give these a little rinse because they're a little grainy. It's like Reiki. I don't know what that is. It's flicking me in the face, the moisture.
So do you not do anything with the almonds? You just
Yeah,
make sounds?
they're already roasted. So the last thing we have to do is grate Parmesan. And I could do that, yeah. But I saw on Instagram Reels a TikTok hack where you put a bunch of Parmesan in a food processor and grate it that way. Now, it is not lost on me the irony of making pasta by hand and then using a food processor to make the sauce. I understand, that's my gift to you. So we only need about like a half a cup for this recipe. Are we done with the ASMR?
Yeah, we can be done now.
Okay. Okay, that really worked. To be fair, they are balls, like small, tiny balls, but that'll work. We're gonna blanch some kale. We got some boiling water here. We want a rapid boil. It's salted water as well. We're gonna add the kale and cook it for just 30 seconds. Transfer it to an ice bath to halt the cooking process. And then I'm going to, after about a minute or 2, remove it from the ice bath, pat it dry, and then we can make our pesto. See, squeezed, but it's good, it's good. This is what we want. Almonds, you know them, you love them. In pesto, now they are. Yep. Gonna grind these up. You know it's done when it stops screaming at you. Now I'm gonna add about a 1/4 cup of cheese. I'm eyeballing it. Cooking. Kale. Parsley. Lemon zest. Grind this up. I'll stream in olive oil, season to taste with salt and pepper. Call it a day. Let's taste it. Interesting. It's like a lot less harsh than I was expecting it to be. It tastes healthy in a way that is not bad. Yes, the moment has come. To use this. And if I'm not mistaken, these are called Monterellos, and it's a big rolling pin. If you don't have one, that's really okay. You could get one, or just use a rolling pin and a smaller amount of dough, and you You can do the same motions, it'll be okay. So I'm gonna lightly dust the surface. That's probably a little bit more than I wanted to. So I'm just keeping it, I'm giving it a quarter turn after every roll to try to keep it in this circular shape. All right, I'm actually gonna get rid of the excess flour now. As we roll it larger and larger, we're gonna start stretching the dough in a very unique way. And having too much flour will make it too slick. You need a little bit of resistance. So now we're probably at like a 1/16 of an inch thickness. We're gonna want it thin enough that we can like very clearly see my skin through the dough. I think Evan Funky says like 7 or 9 Post-it note thicknesses, which is very thin. So now I've reached a stage where I'm not really getting it much thinner by hand, by just rolling it. We're gonna do something which I call stretching. Grab the edge of the dough and you roll it over the center, roll it up, and then firmly press and roll, and it stretches it. You see that stretch mark? Everybody has them, it's normal. And just keep doing this. And I like to move it to the center of the dough because that's where you really want it to stretch as opposed to the edges. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, like a tiny book. Did you guys ever make those little tiny flip books with Post-its and ruin them? Favorite. So anyways, this is how target thickness, which is thicker than I would have thought. Wow, wow, wow. Okay, all right, I need to stop procrastinating. We're cutting this dough now. I've made bow tie, this is my 3rd time now. I'm not very good at it, but we're gonna do it together. I'm just gonna cut edges. I'm just gonna cut edges. Mark it. We're looking for about 1 inch by 1.5 inches. Nope. Tried really hard though. We're trying really hard, everybody. Well, they're all not straight in the same way. It's fine. It's just, I really need to straighten my mind frame. You laughed. All right, so now we have all of our strips that are 1.5 inches thick. And now we're gonna cut them. Start by lining these up. There we go. Okay, now 1 inch intervals. Let's do it, everybody. I'm gonna eyeball the rest, okay? They're artisan. So now look at all these little squares that we have. They're so cute, right? And all the same size, clearly. So I'm gonna clear a patch here and we're gonna shape this. And what we're doing, we're putting our fingers on either side of the dough. We're gonna form 2 little mountains. I'm gonna push them together in the middle and squish. And it's a bow tie. So now that we have one, I'm gonna move it to this semolina lined tray. So now just a million more. So here we have some beautiful artisanal bow tie pasta. We're gonna let these hang out for a little bit while we roll out our other dough, and then we'll make some pasta. Now we're making fettuccine. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna dust this actually with a little bit of extra double O flour to prevent it from sticking. And what we're gonna do is on the top half, roll it towards the center 3 times. Not super tight. Same on the bottom to meet it, and then fold it over. So you got 1 log. Then we're gonna take a knife and I'm gonna cut off the excess here. I'm a righty, so I'm gonna start on the right side. And we're looking for about 1/4 inch thickness per strip for fettuccine. All right, I'll cut 1 and then eyeball the rest. So what I'm doing is I'm sticking this skewer between the layers of pasta, and then when I lift it, I'll shake it out. And I'm just gonna get a sheet tray and toss them in a little bit of semolina to prevent them from sticking. And then we can actually cook some pasta. All right, so now we're gonna make fettuccine al burro. That's not right. You're gonna tell me, that's fine. Pasta, 2.5 ounces of butter, 2.5 ounces of grated Parmesan, salt, pasta water, that's it. It's basically buttered noodles with a little bit of cheese. Well, equal parts cheese to butter. Okay, the first step, I'm gonna warm the bowl. Oh, that is so hot. I'm swirling the hot water and I'm dumping it back in. And now I'm gonna dump in the butter, start melting it a bit.
And now I'm going to take over for a moment with voiceover because I was distracting Kendall from explaining what she was doing. Here she is cooking the fresh pasta in boiling water until it reaches her desired level of doneness. Then removing the fresh pasta to the bowl with cheese and butter before marveling at Alvin and his ability to fall asleep in this situation, somehow. Then she's giving the noodles a stir until the sauce is emulsified and plating in a bowl with a carving fork, at which point I learned Kendall is not, quote, a fork gal.
It's buttery, it's Parmesan. When I'm sick, this is what I would like at all times. The pasta itself is quite toothsome, which I like. When I first started out making fresh pasta, I definitely didn't work it enough. And so it would like dissolve in my mouth as I was eating it. This puts up a fight in my mouth, and that's a good thing. I've got some pesto in a pot, water boiling. We're gonna make the bow tie pesto pasta right now. And these will continue cooking when I'm doing the sauce as well. I'm gonna start heating this just to liquefy the pesto. Now this is a pasta that's definitely a candidate for tossing instead of stirring because you don't want to break up the bow ties. I'm gonna add a little bit of pasta water. Only one thing left to do. Eat it. I like this a lot. I've never made kale pesto before and I really, really like it. But it's really mellow, it's nice, it's earthy. I care for it. So I have to say, overall, this was a really fun time, you know? You could do it faster, but it was an experience. And if you got the time and you're willing, I would totally recommend making it with no machines. It was really fun. Alvin, would you like some almond pesto? Thanks again to KiwiCo for sponsoring this episode. It's really cool that KiwiCo crates are designed to expose kids of all ages to concepts in STEAM: science, tech, engineering, art, and math. The activities are created by experts and tested by kids. Of course, I don't have kids, so for me, it's a great gift idea for my friends and family that do. Head to the link in the description to get 50% off your first month of any KiwiCo subscription.